100 pixel art indie games of 2025. Let's go! Dungeon Race is a fast-paced dungeon destruction shooter where you blast through walls to forge your own path, juggling limited time and firepower while enemies swarm and levels shift under constant pressure. Break walls for shortcuts or detours, grab power-ups that double ammo or cut reload time to increase your destructive power, and balance aggressive blasting with tactical choices about where to go next in compact stages that reward speed and adaptability. Momentum and reflexes matter as the clock ticks down, being so satisfying as numbers go up. As for You, Citypunk 2011 and Love Punch is a text-driven adventure game set in 2011 in a place named Castor Yard, where you play as Mickey, a young architect, juggling her day job and a part-time job as an online mouthpiece, typing responses on behalf of clients while forging connections with over 20 unique characters through keyboard-based interactions in chat and dialogue systems. Decisions influence how relationships and story threads unfold as you manage daily routines, personal goals, emotional choices, and work tasks that shape Mickey's path towards love, meaning, and social belonging in a stylized modern city setting, alive with personality and surprising narrative twists, and has an amazing, almost PC 98 inspired art style. This video is brought to you by Berserk B.I.T.S, an auto-battler idle RPG that sure has Mega Man Battle Network vibes, recently releasing in November 2025, so here's what's next.
Our game Berserk B.I.T.S has been out for not even a month, and we're already having our first event, the Bubble Event, with an all-new biome, with new enemies and a big bubble boss to take all on your desktop, as well as 6 new battle chips and a bunch of bubble-themed decorations. And to celebrate the new event, we're also hosting a competition where we'll select a few players to collaborate with to create custom battle chips that will go in the game forever. All you have to do is send in some screenshots of you beating the bubble boss and the victory email you get in-game to our Discord for a chance to win.
Yes, you heard it right. The developers are making good on their promise for active post-launch support, launching their first event with 3 more in the works. In this game, you play as a net detective, guiding your battle intelligent teammate, or BIT, through a digital world, battling viruses and collecting rare battle chips to build a powerful deck of upgrades and abilities. Train and level up your BIT and uncover the mystery of who or what is behind the attacks on the net, being different from other bottom-of-screen idle games since this has a narrative and story. There's also a home base to upgrade and personalize, and you can even import your own sprite if you so choose, all for the low price of less than $7, so buy it on Steam today if interested. The Rangers in the South is a 2.5D pixel art action roguelite RPG with combat, exploration, and procedurally generated encounters where creating unique strategies and abilities defines how each run unfolds. Forge characters from hundreds of options with distinct traits, navigate a handcrafted world with varied biomes and enemies, uncover secrets and items that shape tactical choices, and confront the constant risk of permadeath, where I do have a soft spot for games that look like this. Heroes of Hammerwatch 2 is a roguelite action RPG where real-time combat and deep customization intertwine across randomly generated dungeons, offering extensive class-based abilities, equipment traits, and hub upgrades that carry over between expeditions. Choose from a roster of distinct classes with specialized skills, gather gear and trinkets that expand tactical options, and hunt town structures to unlock fresh capabilities and face diverse enemies and traps in a dynamic pixel art world that blends persistent character growth with replayability, being much better than regular Hammerwatch 2 and is absolutely crushing it in terms of numbers. Blade Chimera is a pixel art Metroidvania where you play as Shin, an amnesiac demon hunter in a corrupted dark cyberpunk Osaka filled with horrific foes and secrets to uncover. Blending tight combat with atmospheric exploration, combat pairs Shin's versatile arsenal including blades, guns, and abilities with Lux, a demon companion that transforms into a sword, offering attacks, shields, and traversal abilities, forming platforms or allowing for time manipulation to open up new paths. Skill unlocks and a branching skill tree expand movement and combat options, having some of the most epic boss battles, and comes to us from the developer of Touhou Lunar Nights and D-Lit in Wonder Labyrinth, so it's no wonder that this is excellent. Altenjo Infinite Hands is a roguelite deck builder that is basically Balatro but Mahjong, where you build hands from tiles, combining patterns, special tiles, and artifacts to trigger powerful effects and scoring chains to beat the target score. Each encounter tests your planning and adaptability as new rules and pressures reshape how tiles interact. Decisions revolve around timing, tile order, and committing to synergies and builds with the equivalent of the different decks of cards in Bilateral. The pixel art is relatively simple, but it works, and while derivative, does provide a fresh take on the idea. Lunar Vania is an action roguelite platformer shooter set on the moon, which has been transformed into a haven for humanity after Earth's resources dwindle. Pioneers have discovered black stone energy that can also empower human souls, injecting them into mechanical bodies and creating a new form of life. Although this comes to us from a Chinese developer, so some parts of the story might be lost in translation. In terms of action, this is your typical roguelite platformer with a ranged combat focus, reminding me a little bit of Neon Abyss, and has a good if very chaotic look. Rift Wizard 2 is a classic turn-based roguelike, where you play as an immortal amnesiac mage in a procedurally generated realm where tactical spell casting and choice of challenges define each run. Build a spellbook of dozens of unique spells, passive abilities, and magical artifacts that interact with each other, and face hordes of enemies in combat where positioning, spell synergy, and resource management matter. Equipment found in each run adds new effects and expands build creativity, forcing strategic adaptation, and the portal system lets you choose which confrontations to tackle, where you can blow up entire groups of enemies with your spells, which is satisfying with an awesome minimalist pixel art style. Keep Driving is one of the most popular games of the year, being a road trip management RPG about slowly making your way across a procedurally generated pixel art world where the journey itself is the focus. Start with your first car in a nostalgic early 2000s setting, map routes on a country road, and handle random events such as slow vehicles, road hazards, and other interruptions using a turn-based quote-unquote combat system. Pick up hitchhikers with unique traits, repair and customize your car in towns, work odd jobs, and navigate branching narratives that shape how far you get and what you experience on the road, being a very unique entry. Border Pioneer is a pixel art strategy city builder that mixes base building, resource management, and tower defense, set on the edge of a wild frontier where you prove your worth by building towns across varied landscapes. Start with basic structures and expand into a thriving settlement by placing farms, workshops, walls, and towers, while planning road networks, resource flows, and defensive placements. Choose from over 200 unique cards that influence economy, buildings, and combat choices, time their deployment right, and defend your town from increasingly powerful enemy waves with, again, a clean pixel art look. Urban Myth Dissolution Center is a paranormal mystery detective adventure where you take on cases investigating cursed relics, monstrous oddities, and bizarre anomalies that spring from internet urban legends. Play as a newly hired investigator and get to work searching social media posts as well as the crime scenes themselves, interviewing clients and gathering evidence through point-and-click investigation and dialogue, tapping upon the resident's psychic director for help as well. I absolutely love the pixel art here, with detailed character portraits contrasted with the relatively minimalist full-body characters, and is a detective mystery you will want to go on. Guns of Fury is basically what if Metal Slug was a Metroidvania with core run-and-gun action set in a sprawling interconnected world. You play as Vincent Fury, a hardened operative who fights through hostile environments to battle an evil corporation's private army and uncover secrets in a dystopian future. Navigate the map packed with enemies and hidden areas while picking up new abilities and weapons that unlock previously inaccessible areas, then use your guns, bombs, melee weapons, and mech suits in intense combat, being quite the underrated title, so do give this a go. No Skin is a horror roguelite RPG set inside a surreal and unsettling house where every corner hides threats, strange events, and warped versions of reality that blend psychological dread with tactical risk and challenge. Navigate haunted rooms and corridors, face grotesque foes in turn-based combat using melee weapons, ranged ones, as well as scarce items as you uncover fragments of lore tied to a mysterious figure known as the No Skin Man, being very weird and interesting, and is unlike many other releases this year. Tiny Pasture is a charming bottom-of-screen idle game that keeps you company while you work or study, filling the space with adorable animals that snooze, scamper, and eventually produce coins which you collect to expand and customize your little desktop pasture. Buy and raise baby animals like rabbits, foxes, alpacas, birds, slimes, and even zombies. Feed and interact with them to make them happy. Place magical facilities that automate tasks like cleaning and coin collection, and breed new critters by pairing adults so that you have more creatures to generate more coins. You can adjust the size and placement of your pasture freely to suit your workspace, where watching your tiny herd evolve over time is just awesome. Stories from Soul, the Gun Dog, is one of the best looking pixel art games this year, being part of a trend of PC 98 inspired titles, and is a sci-fi visual novel and graphic adventure. You play as a security officer aboard the Jovian patrol ship Gundog, sent to investigate mysterious signals from the edge of space, where 4 years after a solar war, an uneasy peace persists and new dangers lurk deep among the stars. Navigate richly detailed ship environments using point-and-click mechanics to move, examine objects, talk with crew members, and use items to solve puzzles and unravel conspiracies while gathering clues about a hidden threat that pulls the crew into paranoia and conflict. The story leans heavily into 80s and 90s anime sci-fi, almost Gundam-like in nature, and looks absolutely stunning. Die in the Dungeon is a roguelite dice builder where instead of cards, you collect and place dice to fight your way through a mysterious dungeon, combining dice effects to attack, heal, and defend against waves of foes while navigating branching paths towards bosses, with each run offering fresh tactical decisions. Dice come in different types and colors that determine actions like damage or support, and can gain special modifiers that boost their impact or change how they interact on your battle board. Relics and items you find amplify synergies, forcing you to balance luck with strategy as you adapt to ever-changing threats, having what I call thick soul art due to the thicker outlines and looks pretty good. Rogue Genesia is a vampire survivor style bullet heaven roguelite and was one of the early breakout hits, releasing out of early access this year, and is a good one of these. You play as Rogue, a lone hero who stands against relentless waves of monsters that swarm across vast battlefields. This has distinct levels and objectives to accomplish, and is satisfying in the same way as checking things off a list, with over 200 passive upgrades, 60 weapons, and a broad range of artifacts that offer a lot of gameplay variety. While it is pricier than its inspiration, it is still in the indie game price range, and you do get a lot of game for this, with completing everything easily taking 90 plus hours, so if you love this style of game, do give this a try. Dice People is part of a wave of incremental games that I've observed in 2025 as well, with the numbers go up approach to game design still working, but interestingly, they have shied away from the free-to-play plus microtransactions model and are instead premium titles but at a low price. It is about rolling dice to spawn a mass of units that automatically smashes enemies and gathers resources to fuel growth in a big skill tree, where things quickly escalate into ridiculous levels as projectiles blanket the entire screen. The dice you roll turn into units like fighter, wizard, or rogue, which then fight enemies, earning money and experience that can be reinvested into upgrades that boost damage, income, luck, and other attributes, which in turn allows you to buy more dice, also having a very clean pixel art style. I Am Legion Stand Survivors is another bullet heaven roguelite, having a similar kind of design philosophy to its inspiration with the insanity on screen, but where you are summoning stands, think JoJo, which surrounds your main character and blasts away at waves of enemies. This means that team composition and gear matters, being the stand-in for weapons from vampire survivors, but with more whimsy and variety since these characters are represented on screen, with the pixel art sprites looking good and might be worth a study if you're learning pixel art of how they managed to fit each character's design into roughly the same shape while still remaining distinct enough to identify the character at a glance. Mudborn Frog Management Sim is a casual nature management sim where you wake from hibernation to find your pond abandoned and empty and take on the task of discovering, breeding, and restoring frog populations through genetics, crafting, and light puzzle solving. Experiment with genetic keys to create new frog species that unlock paths between the waking world and the dreaming world, letting you explore mysterious areas while uncovering what happened to the lost populations. Manage resources, cultivate mushrooms and bugs for food, breed frogs with varied traits, and use their abilities to power machines or solve environmental puzzles, coming to us from the developer of Epico, which is very similar but bees, so it's not a surprise that this is good. Look Outside is a survival horror RPG set entirely within a single apartment building where a mysterious cosmic event transforms anyone who looks outside the window into grotesque monsters, plunging the world into danger and forcing you to survive day by day in confined corridors and rooms with limited supplies and creeping dread. Navigate the apartment complex to scavenge for food, weapons and crafting materials while managing hunger, hygiene and sanity as you decide whether to venture into hostile floors or to stay safe behind your door. Interact with neighbors who may help or hinder your survival, deciding whether or not to open the door, since when you do, it might just turn into a combat encounter. The turn-based combat is tense and has similarities to Fear and Hunger, with some of the most awesome and grotesque pixel art monster designs that I have seen. This has been a slow burn, but it is up to 8,800 Steam reviews and an overwhelmingly positive rating, and just goes to show that you never feed Devolver Digital published games. Dark Deity 2 is a turn-based tactical RPG set in the war-torn continent of Varroa, where the Eternal Delegation, led by descendants of legendary heroes, must forge alliances, shape political influence, and engage in strategic combat to resist an encroaching Imperial threat. Command a roster of around 20 heroes with access to dozens of branching classes and unique abilities that define tactical niches on grid-based battlefields, weaving together formations, terrain, and synergies to outmaneuver your enemies. Between battles, navigate a rich narrative that responds to your choices, decide who to support or oppose, being pretty much an indie Fire Emblem and will be for fans of the genre. Level Devil is a 2D platformer that is quite old school in design, being a rage game where you're not wrangling with controls like in Getting Over It, but rather the unfair platformers from days of yore in the I Wanna Be the Guy and I Wanna Be the Boshi games. The game actively wants to kill you, and can be hilarious when it does, so try, die and try again until you beat the levels. It has very simple controls that let you run, jump and dodge through stages packed with spikes, moving platforms and unpredictable traps, where you're learning through repeated attempts rather than purely depending on your reflexes, and has a simple, almost Atari-era pixel art style which is very effective. Dreams of Aether is an action microgame collection inspired by the Rivals of Aether universe and is a release that I missed back in April. This includes dozens of fast-paced, seconds-long microgames which loop together into an unpredictable sequence of challenges built around reflexes and basic inputs, each stage quickly shifting in tone and goal through a variety of short bursts of arcade-style gameplay. Characters drawn from across the Aether series appear inside dreamlike sequences, where mechanics flip from punching to flapping to swinging wildly in varied segments, being WarioWare-like in design and is a cool spin-off. Sephira is a top-down action roguelite, where a rabbit from a village atop a mysterious tower descends through procedurally generated floors to confront threats lurking below and to prevent the destruction of their home. Fast, intuitive combat lets you slash, block and dash through hordes of enemies, with the pixel art visuals bringing each skirmish to life, while collecting talismans, artifacts and tablets stack special effects that tweak build options to shape your playstyle. Encounter various animals along the way, which can be allies or enemies, experiment with dozens of weapons and items, and balance risk and reward, coming to us from the developer of Dungreed, so they know their roguelites. Gnomes is a turn-based roguelite tower defense game that blends base building, resource generation, and progression as you guide a small band of gnomes defending their village against escalating goblin raids. On each turn, you place and move gnome units, set up resource buildings, and adjust your defensive layout while expanding into new, procedurally generated biomes, balancing farming to fuel growth, with traps and towers to tackle hostile waves. Every run unfolds with shifting terrain, unlockable upgrades and relics that change how your village functions, with an awesome throwback pixel art look. Asgard's Fall Viking Survivors is another bullet heaven roguelite, this time drawing from Norse mythology, where relentless hordes of mythic enemies swarm across the 9 realms. Choose from heroes such as the Stout Warrior or Agile Huntress, each with distinct skill trees, and unleash dynamic abilities and dash, attack, and buff through waves of enemies. Between runs, deepen your build with meta progression through the web of word that lets you place enhancement knots and war paint runes that modify and amplify abilities, having a minimalist pixel art style which I absolutely love. Castle of Alchemists is an action RPG tower defense hybrid where you play as Bellator, an alchemically enhanced super soldier defending your besieged castle against relentless hordes of invaders from other worlds, where you get into the thick of the action together with your traps and towers. Craft an arsenal of weapons and items with randomized properties, mutate and develop your character through skill trees, and layer synergies on top, with environmental interactions between oil, fire, electricity, and acid, which can be used to maximize damage against enemies, and is a good one of these. Escape the Mad Empire is a party-based roguelite dungeon crawler that is very similar to CRPGs, having deep tactical combat and a real-time with pause system, where you lead a band of heroes through an apocalyptic empire riddled with danger and instability. Assemble a varied team from a pool of distinct classes, manage their skills, loot and curse items to survive encounters that demand both quick reactions and careful planning, and delve into procedurally generated maze-like regions where every battle can shift the balance between survival and failure. Between expeditions, grow your base and construct machines that can upgrade and support your party, with it constantly being updated in early access, so I'm excited to see where this lands. Beholder Conductor is a narrative-driven dystopian simulation and strategy spin-off of the Beholder series, all of which are set in a totalitarian state, where in this game you step into the role of a senior conductor aboard the legendary Determination Bringer train, tasked with maintaining order among passengers, enforcing rules and carrying out secret assignments for the Ministry as you move through carriages, keeping everyone from ordinary travelers to VIPs under constant scrutiny. Decision-making revolves around monitoring behavior, reporting fare evaders, searching luggage, intimidating suspects, or ejecting troublemakers while balancing loyalty and consequences in a world of surveillance and mistrust, where what you report and how you act shapes how others respond and beautifully captures the vibe of this game universe. Dolok Town is a cozy pixel art farming simulation set in a post-apocalyptic world where you start with just land and basic tools and gradually build your dream farm from scratch while exploring the mysterious wasteland around you. Harvest crops, plant seeds, craft tools, cook meals, fish for food and gather materials to expand your homestead, and construct charming buildings as you improve your countryside haven. Engage with the townsfolk, go on side missions, and uncover untold stories of the forgotten land as you raise animals, nurture their habitats, and turn raw materials into crafted goods. There is combat and exploration, but it is relatively light, where a farming sim platformer is an interesting idea that I think should be explored in more detail. The Slawmancer is an epic 2D pixel art action RPG, where don't let the visuals fool you, this is every bit as satisfying as Diablo or Path of Exile. Choose a hero and battle hordes of enemies unleashed by an evil warlock called the Slawmancer across varied environments, blending hack and slash intensity with deep build customization and loot systems. Choose from 3 distinct classes such as the Mighty Knight, a fierce huntress or mischievous mage, which draws parallels to Diablo 1, and master hundreds of unique abilities, passives, and elemental skills that let you mix playstyles and shape powerful combinations through extensive skill trees. Hunt down enemies and bosses while collecting hundreds of weapons, gear, and items with randomized properties with an extensive endgame as well. Cauldron is an upgrade-heavy turn-based RPG built around mini-games that help you strengthen your party and gather the resources needed to face monsters and explore a mysterious world. Play a variety of short mini-games to earn materials that feed into extensive upgrade systems for heroes, skills, items, and abilities, having an almost incremental game feel as you feed these resources into upgrades. Between minigames, engage in battles against creatures, where party composition and stats matter, uncover more of the map, and recruit new allies to expand the possibilities, being quite the satisfying experience that is definitely more than meets the eye. Nine Kings is one of the most popular titles of the year, a fast-paced roguelite strategy kingdom builder that mixes deck building with strategic placement and auto-battling as you grow an empire and fend off rival monarchs in ever-escalating clashes. Pick a king and start with a limited grid where cards represent buildings, units, spells, and effects that you place to shape your defense and army while choosing which battles to fight next. Draft new cards from defeated kings or random drops, creating wild combinations that can snowball into absurd levels of power if you have the right combination. And whenever this releases out of early access, it's definitely a Game of the Year contender. Tinkerlands is a survival crafting sandbox adventure following in the footsteps of games like Terraria and Core Keeper, where you begin shipwrecked on a mysterious island and must explore, gather resources, craft tools, build structures, and defend yourself against enemies in a dynamic world filled with magic and danger. Explore a large main island alongside additional major and minor islands that offer unique biomes, loot, bosses, and secrets. Farm and cook for sustenance, fish, hunt and tame the land, and construct a settlement that attracts NPCs who provide quests and aid in survival with their own unique services. Craft thousands of items and gear, team up with up to 4 friends in cooperative play, tackle more than 10 challenging bosses across diverse terrain, and shape your adventure with exploration, combat, farming, and base building chugging along very nicely in early access. Cattle Country is a cozy cowboy life sim set in a Wild West frontier where you become a determined pioneer and build a new life from scratch by clearing land, planting crops, raising livestock, and crafting tools while slowly turning a stretch of wilderness into a working ranch. Mine for ores deep underground, fish in rivers for food and resources, chop wood for building materials, and fulfill quests that weave stories involving bandits, cattle drives, and local residents that you befriend in town. Raise animals, cultivate fields, build outposts, and take part in seasonal events and activities that shape how your ranch and community grows, doing less well than I expected, given that it is from the developer of Blossom Tales and was published by Playtonic, but I think there's fun to be had here. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo is perhaps the most criminally overlooked title this year, a 2D top-down action-adventure game that blends platforming, combat, puzzle solving, and exploration into what its developer calls a yo-yo-vania, with gameplay built around mastering an ever-growing repertoire of yo-yo tricks to traverse a sprawling urban landscape. Play as Pipit, a youthful yo-yo master battling rival crime bosses across 4 distinct city districts, chaining yo-yo moves together to reach hidden areas, dispatch enemies, and solve environmental puzzles. Combat and traversal both evolve as new tricks are learned, reshaping how you approach the city's 1,000 plus handcrafted screens, definitely being for 2D Zelda game fans. Nice Day for Fishing is a fishing RPG adventure where you step into the boots of Balin, a humble fisherman in the world of Azurim, who, after all adventurers mysteriously vanish, discovers an unexpected calling to become a hero and to save the town of Honeywood. Fishing is central to the gameplay, but it is transformed into dynamic combat with precision timing, turning each fishing encounter into a battle against enchanted fish and creatures. Unlock abilities and gather resources that help rebuild the village, and take on greater threats, coming to us from sketch comedy group and YouTubers Viva La Dirt League, and is not just a cash grab. Seiko Gigantus Dating Sim is a psychological horror visual novel set in 2000s Japan in which you play as Rin, a person who is being held alongside other tiny people by a gigantus named Seiko, whose mysterious powers and behavior blend strange affection with danger. During the day, you take charge of the little people in the desk drawer, managing their health and appeal statistics through choices about who receives items and support, and at night, you converse directly with Seiko, making dialogue choices that can save or end your life in tense exchanges with real consequences. The game uses 2 art styles to distinguish these phases and challenges you with moral dilemmas, with branching narrative threads rooted in horror-tinged storytelling rather than traditional dating sim mechanics, and has a similar vibe to Slay the Princess. Void War is an example of what is old is new again, since this is a ship space combat roguelite that is basically FTL faster than light, but that game released in 2012, so it's about time someone brought this concept to a new audience. You are the commander of an ancient starship in a dark, techno-gothic galaxy similar to Warhammer 40k, which is teetering on the brink of collapse, where demonic cults, pirates, and xenophobic imperial factions clash in brutal encounters. Manage your ship's weapons, modules, and reactor power while navigating hundreds of randomly generated encounters through star systems, choosing a path through as you battle enemy spacecraft with tactical combinations of upgrades and crew. Recruit from diverse factions, customize gear, and engage in strategic boarding actions to turn the tide of battle, weighing offense with defense. Deltarune is a parallel story to Undertale, Releasing chapters 3 and 4 together with a commercial release and given Undertale's rabid fanbase is of course one of the best-selling games of the year. This is an RPG with a focus on story, characters, exploration and a unique turn-based combat system with both classic menu commands and real-time bullet hell dodging sequences. The story follows 3 main characters on a quest to seal the dangerous dark fountains that protect both the light and dark worlds. Combat lets you use actions like fight, act, item, and mercy to resolve encounters with enemies either through violence or compassion, and like Undertale, has both the pacifist and genocide options available to you, and is doing interesting things in terms of storytelling. Cast and Chill is perhaps the best looking pixel art game of the year, a cozy, idle, and active fishing game that invites you to unwind on serene lakes, rivers, and oceans while reeling in fish of all kinds and upgrading your gear from basic rods to better lures and longer lines. Explore different bodies of water at your own pace with a loyal canine companion by your side as you discover rare species, get better equipment, and catch legendary fish that fill out your logbook and earn money for further upgrades. The game's laid-back atmosphere and ambient sounds makes fishing feel meditative and endlessly relaxing, with both active hands-on casting and an idle mode that lets you continue to fish without your input, with multiple updates already with more to come. Tower Wizard is another incremental title this year where you help a lone wizard gather magical resources to construct and expand a towering arcane structure from humble beginnings into a grand magical monument. Generate magic actively through actions and use it to unlock upgrades that boost mana generation, summon helpful spirits, and automate tasks such as resource gathering, and construct additional buildings that unlock new capabilities and deeper mechanics. It has an ascension system, letting you reset for faster future runs with an intentionally limited color palette which makes it stand out. Chronicles of the Wolf is a gothic Metroidvania where you play as the last apprentice of the Rose Cross Order on a quest to hunt a legendary beast through an interconnected world of eerie, forested areas, vast castles, and ruined keeps. Combat blends fast-paced melee and ranged action with challenging boss fights that test timing and skill, while exploration revolves around unlocking abilities and weapons that open up new pathways and secrets across sprawling maps steeped in myth and historical horror. Items, lore, haunting ambience, and dramatic set pieces drive the narrative, being very Castlevania coded and is worth a look. Not Monday Cafe is another cozy bottom-of-screen idle game where you run a cafe but also manage a farm, and in a similar way to games in this subgenre, can be a companion while you work or study without interrupting your day. Grow fresh ingredients on your farm, hire adorable staff to tend to crops, cook meals and serve lovable animal customers, and unlock more than 300 recipes to expand your menu and earn money to upgrade your kitchen and decor. Design and customize your dream cafe layout, manage staff and menu choices, and just enjoy the beautiful pixel art. Strapline is a roguelite time management / training game. Think Princess Maker, where you take care of a dragon girl and guide her growth over the course of one in-game year to prepare her to face a looming catastrophe by feeding her anything and everything to fuel her development. Grow her abilities by experimenting with what she consumes, turning food, rocks, iron, and even strange objects into power that fuels her attacks, defenses, and unique skills, and combine over 100 skills to craft your own strategic build for the final confrontation. How you nurture her heart and strength changes her appearance and personality over time, leading to various possible outcomes, having some gorgeous pixel art characters and backgrounds. Last Report has more of a minimalist pixel art look and is a dark horror adventure game where you work as a night shift park ranger tasked with reviewing camera reports in a remote national park, checking for unusual activity and infractions while strange events begin to unfold in the footage and around your station. Monitor surveillance images, log or discard reports based on evidence, and make dialogue choices which influence your interactions with fellow rangers. Eerie and unsettling phenomena escalate beyond simple wildlife and into terrifying territory that threatens both your sanity and safety, so while it looks relatively simple, it is a horror game through and can be very creepy. Astro Prospector is an incremental bullet hell action game about mining mysterious coffeeroids and battling the corporate forces of Space Corp across dangerous starfields, blending frenetic dodge and shoot combat with resource gathering and ship customization systems. Collect Astro Coffee seeds and other resources by blasting through hostile zones, use those materials to unlock upgrades and expand your ship's weapons, shields and utilities, and face machines and bosses that test your reflexes and tactical decisions under fire. A free update called Endless Coffee adds a Survivors-style roguelike mode with unique ships, hundreds of upgrades and escalating challenge, where 2025 has truly been the year of the paid incremental game. The Drifter is a point-and-click adventure thriller where a murdered drifter named Mick Carter inexplicably awakens moments before his death and becomes entangled in a brutal conspiracy involving murder, shadowy forces, and fringe signs in a moody noir world. Navigates environments in classic 2D point-and-click adventure game style, interact with characters, gather clues, and solve contextual puzzles with minimal inventory as you uncover layers of the mystery tied to time loops and unexplained phenomena, with the story driven by dialogue, cinematic sequences, and an intense pace that pushes the experience forward through investigation and logic-based interactions. Fretless: The Wrath of Rifson is a turn-based RPG set in a quirky music-themed world where a friendly musician named Rob wields legendary instruments as weapons to restore harmony and battle evil forces led by a corrupt executive exploiting musicians. Combat blends traditional turn-based battles with riff-based attacks drawn from a deck that you build as you add sick riffs, mods, and instruments, composing powerful musical attacks against musically themed enemies, having great music and art as well. Fill Up the Hole is a short incremental game where you direct peons to gather garbage across a growing settlement and toss it into a mysterious magical hole to generate profit, transforming waste into progress through automation. Peons automatically collect trash and dump it while you expand the village, unlock upgrades for buildings and workers, and experiment with placement and resource flow to maximize trash output. Multiple strategies emerge from the order of structures and enhancement choices that affect how efficiently garbage production scales, creating a light but engaging gameplay loop that is visually satisfying. He Is Coming is a roguelite RPG auto-battler where a forgotten evil stirs and the Demon King's rise threatens everything, so a lone hero must prepare to face legions of bosses drawn from a rotating pool of over 30 that appear every couple of in-game days and head straight for you. Between combat, explore the procedurally generated world in search of powerful weapons, armor, and artifacts, weigh decisions about which threats to tackle, and where to seek shelter, and adapt your loadout to enemy weaknesses. It is auto-battler combat with no direct control, so your equipment and loot are central to success, having a simple but effective pixel art look. Back to the Dawn is a prison break RPG set inside a maximum security prison, having two playable characters with unique storylines, where you either play as a framed journalist or an undercover cop. The prison is ruled by the guards and various factions, so you need to plot your way out through cunning and forming alliances. Navigate the sprawling penitentiary, populated with anthropomorphic animals, each with their own quirks and personalities, while gathering essential tools and resources and managing your satiety, body and mind stats to avoid breakdowns. Take on jobs, explore secret passages, complete over 100 handcrafted quest objectives, and make difficult choices with multiple possible escape routes and endings leading to replayability. The King is Watching is a roguelite kingdom builder where your royal gaze literally drives your realm's productivity, where only the tiles within sight actively produce resources or train troops. Balance producing food, wood, stone, gold, and other essential resources while expanding your influence across your kingdom and defending against waves of enemies. Select which enemies you want to face in return for different rewards, with it having an extensive meta progression system that is very compelling. I love the ultra minimalist pixel art, which is very well done, with the Volcano update just going live recently, so do give that a try if you thought the initial release was limited in content. Primal Planet is a pixel art Metroidvania adventure that combines survival, crafting, and action in a lush, prehistoric world teeming with dinosaurs, ancient tribes, and mysterious alien technology, where you start as a cave dweller fighting to protect your family and unravel the secrets behind strange machines and abductions. Explore interconnected biomes from dense jungles to deep caverns, gather natural resources resources to craft tools, weapons, and healing mixtures, and gradually unlock new abilities and skill upgrades that open up pathways and secrets as you adapt to threats large and small. Eartheon is a side-scrolling space shoot-'em-up that feels like a throwback to the 16-bit era, where you play as pilot Azusa Takanashi, who must repel alien invaders threatening Earth by blasting through 8 chaotic stages filled with enemies, environmental hazards, and massive boss encounters. Combat revolves around tight flight control and blasting enemies with your primary weapon, along with sub-weapons that can be collected, swapped, and upgraded within a level, as well as the all-important shield that lets your ship absorb hits while keeping firepower intact as long as you balance offense and defense. The pixel art looks absolutely stunning, with a dynamic original soundtrack by Yuzo Koshiro himself, best known for iconic soundtracks like Streets of Rage, and is a throwback to the golden age of arcade shooters. Ooh, it's just a fun title to say, and has a double meaning since the title resembles the playable caterpillar of the game and is a charming exploration puzzle platformer designed around a bomb mechanic. Your caterpillar cannot jump normally, instead having to detonate bombs beneath or beside themselves to destroy obstacles and launch themselves across gaps, requiring visualization of momentum and environments to solve the puzzle and progress forward. All of this is conveyed without text or tutorials and is very clever in design. Whimside is yet another bottom-of-screen idle game, this time with a monster taming twist, where you're essentially catching knockoff EVs named Wimlings that wander into view and can hybridize them by fusing two creatures together to create entirely new species with unique traits, unlocking new biomes as you progress, each rich with surprises and rare variants to discover. As your catalogue grows, decorate and expand a whimsical space where your favorite Wimlings can settle and generate crystals which you can spend on new decorations, upgrades, and garden features, letting you shape a peaceful part of your desktop, and is very charming. Artist Impact is a story-rich turn-based RPG set in a mysterious post-apocalyptic world where humans and AI exist uneasily, and you follow the journey of Akane, a young agent paired with an AI companion named B.I.T, exploring the hand-drawn post-apocalyptic world, engaging in classic turn-based combat and uncovering hidden secrets. Combat is streamlined and accessible, letting you upgrade Akane's strength and weapons to meet challenges with simple yet fluid tactics against enemies and bosses. More interestingly, there is an almost life sim-like aspect to the game, with various side missions and interactions adding charm and unexpected surprises, spanning cozy daily life moments. These range from working out at home, buying and eating food, and attempting to pet a cat, having stunning animations, vibrant colors, and interesting use of manga-like panels. Whisper Mountain Outbreak is an isometric co-op survival horror game where you and up to 3 others explore the cursed Mount Berserk in 1998 after an ancient evil is awakened and traps everyone in a creeping fog filled with monsters. Work together or split up to explore claustrophobic buildings, solve environmental puzzles to unlock doors and retrieve key items, scavenge limited ammo, weapons, and healing supplies, all as you attempt to escape. Choose from multiple character classes, each with unique abilities, with the tension mainly stemming from deciding to stick together or to split up, which you might think is a dumb idea given horror movie tropes, but it does speed things up, having a bit of a rough launch due to save issues, but that has since been sorted out. Ovis Loop is a pixel art roguelite platformer where you control Omega, a robotic sheep in a post-apocalyptic world, battling hordes of lupine enemies as you fight to protect your flock and uncover the mystery behind a brutal war between wolf and lamb. Combat is fast and dynamic with precise controls, dodge roll mechanics, and an evolving combo system that lets you shape your build by choosing active and passive skill upgrades. Each loop sees you collecting new weapons, unlocking diverse abilities, and tackling challenging bosses, and looks absolutely stunning as well. Off is a cult classic surreal RPG where you take control of an enigmatic figure called the Batter who travels through bizarre zones on a secret mission to purify the world of specters and strange inhabitants, guided by a cryptic cat-like character named the Judge that offers both aid and unsettling commentary. Combat uses a turn-based RPG system familiar to classic JRPGs with battle commands for attacking, defending, skills, and items, also having an active turn-based or ATB system as well as the equivalent of a rock-paper-scissors elemental triangle. The pixel art is very Undertale-like, with effective use of colours, and is a cool, weird game worth a play. The Dark Queen of Moth Home is another cool, weird game where you play as the final boss, a powerful Dark Queen whose lonely reign is interrupted by a persistent hero who invades her domain and is easily crushed, only to return again and again with improving strength. This is all set in the same location as you use the Queen's attacks to slay the hero over and over, then face their return with growing tension and reflective dialogue that explores themes of change, perspective, and the unusual bond that develops between antagonist and protagonist, with the narrative elements surprisingly being the most interesting part. Deep Sleep Labyrinth of the Forsaken is a point-and-click horror adventure game with a cool isometric look, where dreams are made of nightmares in this world, as we follow protagonist Amy, who enters lucid dream worlds to uncover the truth about her presumed dead brother Thomas, whose journals hint at his obsession with other realms that might have been real and are still reachable. Navigate nightmarish and fantastical environments using classic adventure exploration and puzzle solving that blends eerie atmosphere with critical thinking as you shape dreams to overcome barriers and confront lurking threats that know you are there. The narrative mystery element is very well done, as is the pixel art, and comes to us from developer Script Welder, somewhat of a Flash game legend, and is known for the Don't Escape and Deep Sleep games, so it's always great to see a new entry from them. This CONT is a narrative-driven simulation RPG that puts you in charge of a struggling discount supermart in the quirky harbour town of Blomkast, where your aunt has entrusted you with turning the rundown shop into a thriving business, manage stock levels, design and organize shelves for efficient shopping, operate the checkout and strike trade deals with suppliers, while keeping customers happy so profits grow steadily. Outside business hours, explore the streets of Blomkast, interact with its residents, build friendships or rivalries, and uncover hidden town secrets that gives depth to the community drama. Quartet is a turn-based RPG where 8 heroes' stories unfold across a colourful fantasy world full of conspiracies, airships, train robberies, and intertwining narrative threads, which you discover through exploration and combat, being pretty much in the Octopath Traveler and comes to us from a developer that specialises in this genre. You can deploy 4 characters at any one time, with 4 waiting in reserve that regenerate ability points faster, where you can tactically swap between them with no penalties to string together powerful attacks, exploiting weaknesses and building party synergies. The intertwining stories are cleverly written and thus tell epic tales, having classically done awesome pixel art as well. Whisper of the House is a cozy organizational and decorating sim where you're helping the townspeople move and unpack, taking on various jobs to help clean up and design the interiors while exploring the town and uncovering secrets. As such, it's partially an unpacking light, but more than that, also has cleaning and sorting with absolutely amazing isometric pixel art that looks beautiful. Overlooting is a 2D inventory-focused roguelite dungeon crawler where an unlikely trio sets out to defeat a spreading dark force by looting gear, combining equipment, and mastering randomized skill trees that change with every run. Gear pieces are parts of sets that unlock powerful bonuses when equipped together, so choosing the right items and skills determines your build's strength. Between regions, you face bosses with unique abilities that test your equipment choices, so deciding on what to use, equip or discard will be critical, and while perhaps not the most beautiful title, the pixel art does work for this game since I do like the icons for loot in particular. Kemono Tea Time is a narrative-driven cafe simulation set in the cozy town of Melodious, where you run Cafe K alongside 2 sisters in a world where animal-eared folk come to relax and enjoy tea crafted to their tastes over the course of a short, limited calendar span. In each day's service, you blend teas from a pantry of base teas, herbs, and secret ingredients tailored to visitor preferences and choose desserts to serve, while engaging in gentle dialogue that reveals personality and story beats. Beneath the cutesy aesthetics and ASMR-style sounds, there is a poignant undercurrent about fleeting moments, connection, and cherishing time with those you meet, talking about how life is to be savoured down to the very last drop, taking the concept of games like Coffee Talk and Valhalla and adding even more emotional weight. Kata Not is a fast-paced roguelite platformer having fluid, brutal melee combat set aboard a massive derelict space station where twisted cosmic horrors stalk every corridor, slash and dodge through procedurally generated levels, wielding katanas and firearms, chaining abilities in fast, responsive fights that demand quick reflexes and careful positioning. Unlock new weapons, perks and skills between attempts, and uncover the dark truth behind what drove the station's crew mad and turned them into monsters and looks absolutely sick in the best possible way. Chrono Gear Warden of Time is a VTuber game, but even if you're not familiar with the character, there's still fun to be had here. It's a level-based 2D action platformer, think Mega Man, where you take on the role of Oro Crony, the Warden of Time, battling to restore shattered timelines by collecting lost golden gears scattered across the stars after an evil force breaks the Chrono Gear artifact that once preserved order. It mixes sword combat with speedy platforming, using time-bending powers like haste to accelerate movement and stasis to slow enemies, letting you manipulate the flow of action on the fly, with the developer of Freedom Planet being involved in this project, so of course the action is great. Little Witch in the Woods is a cozy life simulation adventure where you become Ellie, a young apprentice witch living in a magical forest helping rebuild a rural village. Gathering ingredients, crafting potions, fishing and tending to daily witchcraft tasks, or getting to know the locals and other witches. Explore the enchanted woods filled with mystical creatures and hidden spots, collect herbs, mushrooms and ingredients for your brewing recipes, which are then used to solve problems or help villagers, and grow your skills through exploration and interactions that deepen your magical abilities and connections, and is a very cozy game. Piñata Go Boom is a casual incremental simulation game about smashing piñatas, collecting the toys that fall out, and turning your haul into upgrades that make you a more effective and efficient piñata popper in a quirky job sim gameplay loop. In each room, you swing your bat to break every piñata and gather loot, sell collected toys to earn currency, and invest in a vast skill tree that boosts your stats, unlocks abilities, and expands your options as you climb the corporate ladder within the piñata popping world. This includes prestige mechanics that open up new upgrades and rooms, resulting in more rewarding cycles of smashing, selling, and building up your power, with great pixel art as well. Ale Abbey is a simulation tycoon game where you manage a medieval monastery devoted to brewing holy ales from scratch, crafting your own recipes rather than relying on preset brews, and expanding production to satisfy growing demand in surrounding villages and cities. Build and design your abbey with dormitories, libraries, breweries, and cellars. Assign monks and nuns to research, brew, and sell beer while managing resource flows, ingredient costs, and product quality to grow your reputation and profits. Experiment with dozens of unique ales, negotiate orders, keep your workforce happy, and expand trade contracts while adapting to market pressures and monastery needs, and it's a good entry in this space. Deadly Days Road Trip is an isometric action roguelite set in a zombie apocalypse where you battle ever-escalating hordes of the undead while trying to keep your fuel tank topped up and your supplies stacked for the long haul. It's a bullet heaven spin-off of Deadly Days, with the main gimmick here being the inventory system, where arranging weapons, gear, and items in your limited backpack slots affects their synergies and power between them, adding backpack hero or backpack battles to the bullet heaven genre, and is a great one of these. Spindle is an old school action-adventure game where you play as Death in a world where no one can die, and the natural cycle of life and passing has been broken, sending you on a quest to find lost souls and to restore balance alongside your trusty pig companion that follows and assists you as you explore towns, dungeons, and strange landscapes. Combat and exploration evoke classic top-down Zelda-style gameplay with puzzles, combat, and riddles woven into the world, with the game touching on the subject of mortality, community, and the meaning of endings. This is an action-adventure sandbox RPG which released out of early access after many years and might secretly be one of the dark horse contenders for Game of the Year. Again, following in the footsteps of games like Terraria and Core Keeper in a fantasy procedurally generated open world packed with exploration, crafting, combat, base building, dungeons, bosses, and endless surprises. Chop wood, mine ore, explore caves, fight monsters, and gather resources to craft gear, potions, weapons, and magical equipment while shaping your character through your choices. Establish and grow a settlement by recruiting villagers, assigning them unique jobs as they help farm food, build defenses, and automate production to support expeditions into deeper biomes and tougher encounters. Of course, having co-op support and is an excellent one of these. Fantasy Maiden War's Dream of the Stray Dreamer might be a game you missed, being a Toho title, but as a classic grid-based tactical RPG set in Gensokyo where humans, yokai, and gods coexist, and where supernatural incidents disrupt the peace. Deploy a massive cast of over 70 iconic heroines from the Toho universe across strategic maps, positioning units, managing movement, and using flashy spell card attacks in turn-based battles with multiple difficulty levels. Choose your protagonist at the start, such as the Shrine Maiden Rimu or Magician Marissa, and customize your squad between missions with gear, skills, and traits, having extensive RPG systems and awesome character sprites. Relic Guardian Tower Defense is a pixel art tower defense strategy game where you have to defend ancient relics across themed battlefields. Place and reposition an array of defensive towers in real time, being able to shrink and carry them across lanes to reposition them, which is an interesting mechanic. Cast spells and swap towers to deal with different waves of enemies and bosses, also having various heroic forms of your ally, the priestess Pani, to call upon to tip the tide of battle, with a fantastic look as well. One of the biggest hits of the year is Slots and Daggers, a roguelite slot machine title where your chosen symbols fill up the reels and the result of each spin determines attacks, defenses, and coin gains against enemies in a fantasy world. You interact with the machine by stopping reels to try and match icons that deal damage, generate shields, or spit out coins which you spend on upgrades, adding that gambling element which has been very popular in roguelites, where it's slot machine psychology shown in full force here and is very effective for good reason, but I suppose designed less exploitatively as a one-time purchase here. Super Fantasy Kingdom is a roguelite city builder defense title where you return to your ruined lands and spend each run rebuilding your kingdom by gathering resources like wood, stone, and food, expanding infrastructure, and recruiting heroes who defend your realm from nightly waves of monsters that assault your walls. By day, you manage production chains such as farming, mining, and cooking, while placing buildings and planning expansion, and when night falls, your defenders automatically battle enemies, acting as frontline defense in frantic clashes. Success earns glory and permanent unlocks that widen strategic options, opening up new territories and granting powerful upgrades for future attempts, where between this and The King is Watching, it's a great year for minimalist pixel art roguelites. Aruta is a side-scrolling action RPG with hack-and-slash combat and bakery management, set in a quirky world where bread has nearly vanished, and a fox girl adventurer named Chaya must collect materials by fighting monsters to bake delicious breads that revitalize a deserted town. Fight through themed areas using a variety of weapons and skills to gather rare ingredients, then return to your bakery to prepare, stock, and sell bread while serving customers and organizing shelves to maximize sales and fame. As town popularity grows, new characters join, recipes unlock, and town buildings develop, releasing out of early access in November, so it's a great time to jump in. There Are No Orcs is an RTS roguelite hybrid strategy game similar to The King is Watching, but a little bit more chaotic, where you're placing buildings to generate resources and to spawn troops, which then automatically move forward and engage the enemy. Positioning matters, since that affects the output of each building, so you're constantly tweaking them as you go, while honestly not paying that much attention to the combat and just hoping that the units you spawn will be enough to overwhelm the enemy. I do like the masses of armies clashing, and it looks great, and it's a good roguelite strategy city builder. Idle On is a casual incremental title which also released out of early access, where your characters keep fighting and gathering loot even when you're not actively playing, having MMORPG-like systems mixed in with the incremental structure. Form multiple characters that specialize in different tasks such as combat, mining, farming, fishing, and crafting, while they automatically grind monsters, gather resources, and complete quests, then spend their loot on upgrades to unlock new abilities and even more classes like Elemental Wizard and Cannon Pirate, with persistent progression, skill trees that cover activities from cooking to construction, and collaborative online play with others. This is a pretty well designed idle game, but of course, Being free to play, do watch out for the microtransactions. Shard Squad is a bullet-heaven action roguelite with a monster taming element where you assemble a squad of elemental creatures called shards to battle relentless hordes of powerful bosses and enemies across colourful environments. Recruit and combine over 20 shards with distinct elemental affinities and traits using their synergistic abilities to unlock unique effects and adapt your strategy on the fly against waves of enemies. You are exploiting elemental strengths and weaknesses, and can equip relics that enhance your team's strengths, experimenting with different squad compositions to find powerful combinations to face increasingly intense challenges. Windswept is a Donkey Kong Country-inspired precision platformer where a duck named Marbles and a turtle named Checkers have been swept away by a storm and must work together to find their way home through over 40 handcrafted stages filled with hidden collectibles, quirky obstacles, and bonus challenges that test your precision and timing. Each character has unique abilities, and you can swap between them to solve platforming puzzles and to progress forward, simply looking awesome and can be quite the challenge. Your Big Cute Monster Farm is a casual idle farming game that places a tiny, lively monster run farm at the bottom of your screen where adorable creatures handle all the work from tilling to planting, watering and harvesting while you focus on other tasks. Assign monsters with unique skills to plots, ring a bell every now and then to boost their efficiency, and watch your cozy world grow as crops sprout and occasional quirky mutations appear that sell for more value. Hatch and merge new monsters to optimize automation, expand your farm layout with decorations and buildings, and uncover themed regions and surprises that add variety to the calm, happy farming experience. Million Depth is a deep diving action roguelite where you guide Moma as she descends into a million floors of a mysterious underground world in search of a lost friend and hidden truths behind humanity's fate deep beneath the Earth's surface. Combat blends fast action with a unique mechanic where time only moves when you do, letting you freeze enemies with a device called the Biotope Jammer so you can carefully plan your next move against dangerous creatures lurking in the shadows. Craft unique weapons and shields by combining blocks into custom designs that define your fighting style, and adapt to threats while managing durability limits. Throughout your descent, you encounter shopkeepers with a barter-based trading system, fluctuating resources, parallel world influences, and narrative branches that reshape timelines and reveal fragments of a complex story, and is a very interesting entry. Arcane Trigger is a bullet-building roguelite shooter where every shot is custom crafted before firing, combining strategic preparation with wave-based combat against shadow-spawn invaders threatening your home. Choose from multiple playable mages, each with distinct firing styles and elemental affinities, then gather energy from fallen foes to forge an arsenal of more than 200 unique bullets, whose effects can be shaped with over 150 magical seals and arranged in your weapon's magazine to trigger powerful synergies. Success hinges on mixing, fusing, and amplifying abilities on the fly as you face escalating waves of enemies, learning and adapting your builds between runs, and is a clever little game. Shell Diver is a cozy incremental ocean adventure where you play as a senior turtle diving from your submarine to catch jellyfish and sell them at the shop to build a business and support your turtle community. Fish for many unique jellyfish types with a bubble gun, each with its own quirks, then sell them to invest in upgrades in a massive skill tree. On top of your coins, you have to get additional materials like scrap wood, crystals, and other materials with your laser blaster, which also feeds into the upgrade system and is a wonderful, if short, incremental experience. Four Strike is a martial arts roguelite action game that comes to us from the developer of Oliya, where you play as a martial artist on a journey across the country to free an emperor from the influence of an evil admiral, while facing ever-changing foes in procedurally generated encounters. Combat hinges on a unique foresight ability that lets you rehearse battles in your mind to experiment with timing, positioning, and tactics before fighting for real, requiring both strategy and precise execution under pressure. Between runs, you unlock new techniques and permanent upgrades from eccentric masters, expanding your repertoire of moves, giving you more options to deal with enemies, and thus have a grungy pixel art style that is signature of this developer. Kingdoms of the Dump is a throwback SNES-style turn-based JRPG set in a whimsical fantasy world made entirely of garbage called the Lands of Phil, where you play as Dustin Binsley, the Trash Can Knight, on a quest to rescue the trash-picked king, confronting the toxic Gremlin army and to unite the 5.5 kingdoms of the dump against a common threat. Combat is turn-based and interestingly on the grid as well, with timed hits and no random encounters, and exploration blends classic overworld traversal with platforming, elevation, and unique field abilities for each party member that open up new paths, solves puzzles, and reveals secrets. Morsels is a fast-paced top-down creature collecting roguelite where Hungry Mouse learns how to transform into magical little monsters called morsels and must climb out of the sewer depths to confront oppressive killer cats. Each run has you collecting and nurturing a roster of captured morsels that you can switch between at any time, with each creature offering its own unique attacks, abilities, and quirks that shape how you handle combat and hazards. Along the way, you encounter hidden bonus levels and odd mini challenges that twist the action, and while the CRT filter look isn't my favorite, it does look pretty nice here. Marissa Return the Book is a casual idol strategy game set in the world of Gensokyo, where Marissa the Magician's habit of borrowing books without returning them sparks a chaotic reaction from her friends, who band together to demand those books back. Rather than traditional combat, the game revolves around managing teams of character dolls which you create to push through Marissa's fortified house, with each doll type offering unique attacks and skills that shape how you tackle waves of defenders to reclaim the books. It is light-hearted, with the incremental systems involving unlocking more characters and abilities to help in your crusade, and is a fun entry for Toho fans. Repel the Rifts is a roguelite tower defense strategy game where you play as a stranded expedition leader on an alien world, building and upgrading defenses to fend off relentless waves of interdimensional creatures emerging from chaotic rifts while you uncover new terrain each night and push deeper into the unknown. Place towers strategically based on geography and terrain, draft powerful upgrades, and collect alien artifacts that grant potent bonuses and synergies to bolster your defenses, while choosing from different commanders, each with unique starting towers and abilities that shape the run. Between combat, expand your surveyed map, adapt to escalating threats, and experiment with different combinations of towers, artifacts, and commander perks, and is a fun tower defense title. Rhythm Doctor released out of early access and is a one-button rhythm game where you play as an intern at a hospital tasked with saving patients by defibrillating their hearts in time with musical patterns that match their unique heartbeats. Hit the button on the 7th beat in each scenario to heal patients, learning concepts like polyrhythms, hemiolas, and irregular time signatures organically through design levels rather than traditional note highways. The game weaves its beat-based mechanics into a story spanning multiple acts with distinct characters and quirky stages that blend humor, challenge, and creative musical puzzles, and is very clever in design. Death Howl is a Dark Souls-like deck-building RPG with tactical grid-based combat and narrative exploration through a sorrowful spirit realm, where you play as Ro, a grieving mother determined to bring her lost son back from beyond the veil. Craft and customize a deck from more than 160 cards that shape your offensive, defensive, and movement options, then explore 4 fractured realms and 13 distinct regions filled with restless spirits, hidden quests, and challenging enemies that test your tactical depth and adaptability. Totems and region-specific cards add variety, and interestingly, it is not a roguelite, with the color palette chosen making it stand out, but not necessarily in a good way. Uni Duni is a vibrant and colourful co-op puzzle platformer where you and a friend control 2 tiny friends named Uni and Duni as they explore whimsical environments filled with obstacles, puzzles, moving platforms, springs, and cannons, navigating these hazards and collecting berries in order to complete the level, spanning a variety of biomes, and is simply fun with a friend. Dunjungle is an action-packed roguelite platformer where you play as a brave monkey hero venturing into ever-changing jungles to confront a corruptive force that is warping peaceful creatures and the landscape. It has fast-paced combat with bizarre enemies to fight, but you do have a varied arsenal of weapons, spells, and relics to counter them using elemental effects like fire and ice to your advantage. Choose from multiple playable classes with distinct strengths and weaknesses, and is a must-play for roguelite fans. If you love pixel art, then you have to watch this video on the best looking upcoming games of 2026.